finding is these baseless allegations, when people go out there and smear reputations, this happened to Justice Brett Kavanaugh, this happens to a lot of male Republicans or people that are nominated to positions of power. And frankly, as someone who knows Representative Gaetz, you know, when I was first elected to Congress, I think it's incredibly important for women out there to know I was only a few months pregnant. I had a reporter come up to me and ask me how many members of Congress I had had sex with, also alleging that I had a relationship with Matt Gaetz, which was categorically false. But the reason why they did that is because I was standing up against the machine that exists here in Washington, D.C. So be aware that these types of smear campaigns do exist. That's why I've been so adamant about getting the facts out there. And I still back him. Frankly, I think that if the DOJ and the FBI had evidence, they would have prosecuted, because Matt Gaetz is a thorn in their side. But that's exactly why I think it's important for your network, especially, to put the facts out there. And that's why I chose to come on today.
Gaetz is the most articulate member of Congress. It's like, no, it's not even close. Right. So they hate him for that because he's a danger. My explanation, of course, I've noticed that Republicans believe most of what they're told. Part of it is, I think there's an IQ gap, if I'm just being honest. Part of it is they believe in the system, and Democrats just don't believe in the system at all. They don't believe in any system that curtails their power, basically. But Republicans really believe in it, to their great credit. And so they're like, well, it's the DOJ. I mean, it's kind of corrupt on the margins. You know what I mean? There's some bad apples, but most of them are really great. Really? Why haven't the great ones resigned? Right. I don't think there's any evidence they're mostly great at all. I think they're really dangerous, heavily armed.
Mr. President, are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz?
No. We got to talk about Matt Gaetz today. One of my, if not my favorite member of, well, I guess now former member of Congress. Because The View, once again, have gotten themselves in a sticky situation. Because, you know, leftist mainstream media, as well as The View now, are spewing out this lie or allegation, right, that Matt Gaetz did some things with someone underage. Now, my position is the DOJ already investigated this. They already investigated it. So if the Department of Justice has already investigated it, and there were no charges brought, why are we still talking about this? Now, I'll be the first to admit, or first to say, if he did what he was accused of, he should go to jail for it. I mean, simple and plain. But it's already been investigated by the Department of Justice. So why are we still pushing out this allegation? Like, it's not... In my humble opinion, it's not an allegation anymore if the Department of Justice already investigated it. And we'll get into a little bit more of that later. But I want to play this clip of what Sonny Hostin said. And I want to also show you what she was forced to do immediately after making this statement. All right. So with that being said, let's dive in.
You know, you have the sex crimes unit, which is what I was a part of, child sex crimes and child trafficking. How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding, further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her. Well, statutory sex doesn't require you to know what age the person is. It only requires the age. And so if these things are true...
So if you're having sex with an underage girl,
yes,
she tells you she's 18,
yes,
and you have it anyway, you're still liable.
Yes, you are.
She's actually still only 17.
Just to clarify.
Yeah. And so I'm deeply disturbed at the lack of judgment that we are already seeing from the president-elect.
But you're not surprised.
I'm not surprised, but I think a lot of people are. A lot of people said things like, he's just kidding. He would never do something
Well, this is
like
the
that.
best joke of all.
That's not true.
Because I'm crossing my fingers that this is going to be sweet justice. So he resigns, so this ethics report can't, the investigation stops. Maybe he doesn't go through, because there is a lot of talk because of that universal hatred and mistrust of this person. And I mean, everyone despises him, and they don't want to see him over any control. So he doesn't get it. He doesn't get voted through. and then the ethics report gets leaked anyway. Right. So, like, he can't win if they don't vote him through, and he has no job because he resigned. So I'm kind of hoping that that's the outcome.
But aren't you disturbed a little bit by people?
I've been disturbed by him for
but aren't you disturbed? That's not my question. Aren't you a little bit disturbed as?
So you heard that there. Accusing Trump of having bad judgment because it's Matt Gaetz. And like, once again, these are allegations. That's it. Okay. As far as we know, there is no proof of any of this happening. It's he said, she said at this point. Okay. And again, the Department of Justice has investigated this, this is also very, very telling because a little while after, Sonny Hostin and the crew went on that rant that Matt Gaetz is, this, kid, she had to issue this statement.
On screen. Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism, that DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
Oh, so she was forced to admit live on air that not only did the DOJ investigate, but they investigated it for 3 years and no charges were brought. But you have people like Sonny Hostin and people on left-wing media, and this is why left-wing media is dying, still pushing it, still out here talking about it as if it's something new that has never been investigated, that's never been looked into at all whatsoever. And the only reason why he dropped out of Congress was so all this evidence didn't come out on him. Huh? The Department of Justice investigated it. Goodness gracious. Megyn Kelly actually dives into this a little bit more, and I want to show you that clip from Megyn Kelly actually talking about this because there's a lot to this whole situation that is just like, whoa, so check it out.
She is one of 2 people whose testimony has issues that veteran prosecutors feel would not pass muster with a jury. So the 17-year-old at the crux of all of this has been deemed not credible by the DOJ, by career prosecutors there. The other is a former friend of Gaetz's, Joel Greenberg. And you're going to need to listen to a thing or two about Joel. He's a former tax collector for Seminole County, Florida. Gaetz is from sort of the panhandle area of Florida.
Wait for it.
He, Greenberg, pleaded guilty last year to sex trafficking of a minor and a host of other crimes as part of a cooperation deal with authorities. So this guy was on the hook criminally and then started talking about whom else he could give up to the authorities. Greenberg was first charged in 2020 with fabricating allegations and evidence to smear a political opponent. He made shit up to hurt someone who is opposed to him in politics. That's what he was already charged with and dealing with when he pleaded guilty to sex trafficking of a minor. Prosecutors continued to investigate and added charges to Greenberg's case. He ultimately agreed to plead guilty to 6 criminal charges, including sex trafficking of a child, aggravated identity theft, and wire fraud. Sounds like a very upstanding citizen. In exchange for his guilty plea, prosecutors agreed to dismiss the other 27 counts against Greenberg and recommend a term within the federal sentencing guidelines, which are usually less than they could get under the statutory maximum. If Greenberg provided substantial assistance in building other cases, prosecutors might ask a judge to deviate below the minimum required penalty, according to Greenberg's plea agreement. It was in exploring Greenberg's conduct that investigators came upon evidence. They came upon it. Could it have been from Greenberg? Potentially implicating Gaetz in sex trafficking. Prosecutors had been exploring whether Greenberg paid women to have sex with Gaetz and whether the two shared sexual partners, including the 17-year-old girl at issue in Greenberg's case. Gaetz, who represents a mostly conservative district in Florida's Panhandle, is known as a strident defender of former President Donald Trump. Why is that relevant, Washington Post? What's that doing in here? Huh? The investigation into him was opened during the Trump administration and proceeded with the approval of then Attorney General William Barr. Greenberg has been providing investigators information about Gaetz since last year. Just FYI, I am omitting all of the Washington Post's sourcing, virtually all of which is according to a person familiar with the matter. You can see it in the original report if you so choose. Then this. Greenberg's credibility would be a significant challenge for any prosecution of Gaetz, in part because of one of the crimes Greenberg admitted to, which was fabricating allegations against a school teacher who was running against him to be a tax collector. Now, we heard that earlier in the piece. Remember, I paused, I read it to you, that he was charged in 2020 with fabricating allegations and evidence to smear a political opponent. That's bad. He's got a history of doing that. Is that what he's doing to Gaetz? And then they raise it again here, saying his credibility is going to be a problem because he admitted to fabricating allegations against a school teacher who was running against him to be a tax collector. What exactly were the allegations that Greenberg fabricated? Washington Post, walk us through it. And they do. Greenberg had sent letters to the school falsely claiming that the teacher had an inappropriate sexual relationship with a student. A similar allegation to the Gaetz case. You think? Yeah.
What do you know?
A lawyer for the school teacher commented to the Washington Post saying, no one is going to believe anything that Joel Greenberg says by itself. His statements would have to be corroborated by testimony or evidence.
What do you know? So, once again, the Department of Justice investigated this. And they investigated it for 3 years. No charges. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nothing. But this whole allegation is still being pushed. Kind of interesting. To me, that says Trump picked the right guy. To me, that says Trump is on the right track in terms of picking the right person. Because the establishment does not panic, does not do this unless they feel threatened. And they definitely feel threatened with Matt Gaetz. They are shaking in their boots. You know? And once again, if he had been found guilty of doing what he's accused of, oh yeah, put him under the jail. Put him under it. Okay? But once again, it's already been investigated. So what are we talking about here? And again, in this country, we are innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. And Republicans before made a terrible decision. I can't remember the guy's name. The guy in Congress who got kicked out probably about a year and a half ago. I can't think of his name. I can see his face though. Goodness gracious. But I think it was gay or something, I believe, or he lied and said he was or something. But they kicked him out before an investigation had even concluded. He was accused of certain things, but was never found guilty of certain things. And to me, that didn't make any, and I think I said that in the video, and a lot of you agreed. Like, why are we shooting ourselves in the foot? Now, okay, if he's found guilty, all right, then you kick him out. But until then, we're not doing any of that. Democrats don't kick out their members. I'm just saying, right? I ain't saying two wrongs make a right, whatever, but still, the guy wasn't found guilty of anything. There was mere accusations and an investigation that was underway. It's the same thing that Gaetz is currently or had faced, right? Because the Department of Justice did investigate it. And these allegations are still just floating around all of a sudden. You know, it's just strange to me, but also hilarious how Sonny Hostin in The View had to come out and issue that legal note to try to cover their behinds because they knew Matt Gaetz was going to sue that butt. He was going to get some cash from them. Okay, he was going to get some of that money. You know, and I think Matt Gaetz should sue anybody who doesn't, who continues to try to push this nonsense that's already been investigated. Like that That tells me the whole story, because they all failed to mention, not all of them. Obviously, Sonny Hostin didn't in the beginning, and then she had to come back and say, well, it's been investigated, type of deal. But when you're watching a lot of these clips, none of them really mention that it's already been investigated. Like, they just leave that whole part out and just try to pile dirt on top of Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is the right guy for the job. And honestly, I think he'll get it come one way or another, come hell or high water. I think Trump is going to get his guy to be the attorney general. If that means a recess appointment, there have been a lot of things that have been floated out that Trump can legally do to make sure that Matt Gaetz gets in. Obviously, I think Trump is going to try to do it, the simple way first, through the Senate, okay? And then if they don't, toe the line, well, second, I should say if they don't follow Trump's agenda, because we did give them a mandate, first off, you're going to hear from people like me. And I'm going to start exposing the folks that voted against, some of Trump's picks. And I'm going to make sure that every single one of them gets primaried. And there are other folks as well. Elon Musk said he's going to put money behind the primary opponents of these individuals. So they're cooked, which is why I don't think there might be a couple. But for the most part, I think most of the Republican Senate is going to get behind all of Trump's picks. There might be a couple rogue people, and they won't have a job. They will all be Liz Cheney'd. Yeah, she's become a term now, Liz Cheney'd. They will be voted out in an embarrassing fashion, gone, never to return again. So I think Trump is going to get it. Long story short. But yeah, you let me know your thoughts, your opinions on this. Do you think Matt Gaetz, what do you think about the whole Matt Gaetz situation? I guess I should ask. Like I said, it's already been investigated. Why are they still talking about it? Do you think maybe the DOJ missed something? I don't think so. It was investigated for 3 years, so I think they're just terrified of the man because they know he is going to shake some stuff up 1,000%. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Peace and love. I'm out.